There's the new Yamaha. There's Marky Mark. This should just, you want to do the reveal? It should just lift right off. Whoa! Oh my gosh. I like that blue accent stripe. That's motor number 1. I'm telling you guys, I've owned every brand outboard motor. That's the one you want. This Yamaha 150 is known to be one of the best motors. We just broke the crate down around it. Found that's usually the best way to get them loose. You lay them on their back here. We'll take the cowling off. We'll grab it with the chain. We'll pick it back up, and then we will back the boat up under the shop. And still got the other motor on the crate there, but yeah, we're moving right along. Big day. I signed away my soul yesterday. I'm financed. God, it's gotten crazy here, so I'm eager to go back to fishing. So what y'all are looking at, y'all, are some really nice motor templates. I got one of my buddies, Jeremy, let me borrow those. We kind of have a homemade one, but these are like professionally made, and they've got bushings in them so that when you're setting your drill bit through there, it makes sure that you are 90 degrees to the transom. And we had marked the center line of the boat already. We know exactly where the middle is, and then we are drilling these motors on a 28.5-inch center line, which is real common. You can do like a 26.5 or a 28.5. You can do them even wider than that, but those are the two most popular ones, especially for inline 4s. All right, y'all, that is all 4. We went ahead and we put some bolts up top to snug it, our little Irwin clamps, and these nice jig templates. And Mark turned the vacuum off. Whew, that's loud, but the vacuum really helps. Y'all seen us do that a bunch. Like, that's one way we control dust and keep the workplace neat and clean and gathered at the source rather than it just swirling all over the place. So there we go, y'all. We are picking her up. Had to shuffle the boat back around on this side. Yeah, come on up a little more. Okay, y'all, so we went ahead and we hooked the harness up to the engine. Positive has got a little red dot on there. Ground is on the block, and went ahead and threw a battery on there so that we could check the angle and the elevation. And what we're looking at is this cavitation fin is just ever so slightly above the bottom of the planing surface of the boat, which that's kind of what Yamaha, most companies recommend, is that cavitation fin pretty much be in line. I have found that our boats with the saltwater series props we're running, we can run them just ever so slightly up. So we've got some adjustment here. We can come down or we can come up a little bit. So we're just doing what I call a dry fit. Y'all see me do this all the time, where we just kind of test something make sure it looks good before we do the other. So tonight we're just gonna hang both engines on here, and then tomorrow we'll start kind of buttoning up some of the stuff, and then we'll silicone everything up tight. All right, y'all, here we go with the second motor. We're probably high enough, huh, Mark?
Yeah.
Good to go. All right, just keep on rolling. I'm gonna pull the truck up out of the way. I'll walk it out. Walk it out, walk it out. All right. Everybody clear? Keep going. Keep going. That's good. I think balance is good. Hooty hoo. She don't have balance. All right, we're gonna let her down.
Balance is good right there.
It balances really
right
good.
Right there is a good balance.
Just FYI, yeah, if you guys are ever doing this, there's 2 braces right up here forward.
Right by the styrofoam.
Yeah, right by the styrofoam. That's almost a perfect balance.
A lot better than the other one.
All right, we're coming down. Remember, before she hits the ground, we gotta pull her. You pull back and I'll push forward so that the head lines up. Remember?
Yeah. I didn't remember, but I do now.
That way we got a good
Angle on the dangle.
angle on the power head.
That'll be good right there.
Very good. So what we were doing, y'all, is we were pushing that motor back so that the lifting point on this motor is on the top end of the engine, and that way we got a good line of sight there. And next in the process, you just got to bust all these bolts loose. You take this top cage off, and then these upright supports, and you leave it bolted to that lower bracket. Take the cowling off, hook onto it, ready to do it again. All right, here we go, y'all, with the second engine coming up. Nice and easy. That's how you do. You wanna loosen those brackets? Up.
Yeah, that's good.
You think?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I mean, Logan ain't gonna be the roots of it if you keep going.
All right, y'all. We're gonna unbolt. At this point now, we will unbolt those final 2 on either side right there. We'll take that bracket down nice and easy. We'll be ready to back the boat in, hang her on there for this afternoon. Still a little high. You want to manually come down. You could probably bump it down one time. Woo! Gotta creep it down, man. Can you creep it down just by hand? By hand. Hold on. We got one started. Just hang on a minute, Mark. Where's the nut? The nuts for the washer and nut.
On the floor right there behind you.
Huh?
Right there. They come down a little smidgen.
Yep, we're gonna get one So y'all, what you can do a lot of times is you can get one started. One will line up maybe better than the other. So that's what we're doing, is we're just gonna get one bolt pushed through. All right, Mark, I'll hold this one if you wanna go creep it down just a smidge. A little bit. Come on. Come on, a little bit more. There it is. All right. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of that TEF 45 on there.
Need to tap it.
Yeah, you got the dead blow hammer. I want to show y'all something we've been using on anything stainless steel. This TEF or TEF 45, really good about keeping stainless steel from galling or seizing. It doesn't take much at all. You got a really cool little brush to apply that stuff, and we'll just paint just a tiny bit on the threads before running it on, and that'll keep it from seizing or galling. If you've ever worked with stainless steel, real prone to lock up if you don't put some kind of lubricant. But TEF 45, they don't pay me to say that, but that's good stuff. There they are, guys. Two brand new Yamaha 150s. We've got them bolted. You can see a nice fat bead of silicone showing through. We've been really hustling. We worked till pretty late last night to get them hard bolted. We kind of dry fit them on the boat first, made sure everything looked right, and then last night we secured them. And we also moved forward with our steering system. That's a big C-Star hydraulic, and we're using a tie bar system. So there's going to be a linkage that goes between and then connects to this other motor. Yep, and there's Marky Mark in the background. He's been working super hard as always. And we've also got the helm mounted. Now you can kind of see the guts, the internals in there, but this is an adjustable helm, and we went ahead and punched the holes for our dual. That's the digital, what they call a DEC engine, the digital electronic controls. Pretty cool. The newer motors do not have a throttle and gear shift cable mechanically connecting them to the shifter to the motor. It is an electronic signal that's sent to like an actuator. But what we've done, even like laying out the dash, you guys know I'm a big fan of templates. We made some little wood templates, and that is the cutout for the binnacle control. That is the cutout for the key switch, which is going to go right down there. There it is. But one thing they've done with the newer Yamahas is they've added a push start button, which is kind of odd. You turn a key on to energize the system, and then you have to physically push a button, and mine are still in Japan. They're supposedly like 2 weeks out. Luckily, we found another local dealership that has one, and it should be here tomorrow. But I wanted to jump back across and show you guys. This is the tie rod, the connecting bar on the steering linkage, and you can see that mark right there. That is going to be 13 3/4 inches, and we've got a big DeWalt. It's my variable speed with a very thin cutoff wheel. That is a Metabo brand. And when you buy these hydraulic systems, a lot of times with the twins, there's adjustment in the linkage. And so the rods are kind of extra long, and there's a table on there that kind of tells you per your application how long they need to be cut off. So I'm fixing to trim these down. That's kind of nerve-wracking because that tie rod kit is over $600 for that little rod and another little sleeve that goes over it and the little linkages on the end. So really don't want to mess that up. You want to measure twice, cut once is the way we go. We've got a nice little clear mark letting me know where we need to be. We've got this big old DeWalt with the Metabo blade. Tell you what, Mark, trade places with me. Think it's gonna be a little happier. Just like that. Look at there, y'all. That is a yellow fly. I don't know if y'all saw it. They love electrical power tools. All right, just like that. That wasn't too bad. There's the cut. Now it's still kind of rough. I'm gonna have to get a little high-speed grinder. We're gonna clean up the ends and kind of put a little bevel on it so that it'll thread nicely. All right, y'all, we're gonna be using the little Bosch high-speed with a fairly aggressive, but that one's kind of worn down, but that's okay. Not removing a lot of material. And here we go. You want a really nice level cut. All right, y'all, I might finesse that a little bit, but y'all notice at the end we put a real slight little chamfer, a little cut back on that. A lot of times that'll help that get started and get initiated. Now we also may use a little file. Sometimes you use just a hand file when you get down really tight. And I've also got, I found what works really good for cleaning up stainless steel threads when you cut them is a wire wheel. And we may power that up and do a little cleanup on there, and we'll just test fit it and see how she goes on. If it gives us any trouble, we will stop and do it again. Hey, look, there's one of those yellow flies caught in a spider web, and here comes a big spider. Holy moly. Goodness. Holy moly. Did y'all see that? That was crazy. I didn't even know that giant spider. That's part of living down in the deep south, y'all. We got big spiders everywhere, but he got his lunch. That was pretty crazy cool. What do you think about that, Mark?
I don't know. It's pretty wild. I just saw him stuck in a spider web, and all of a sudden that big spider web. Oh.
Bonus footage. I didn't expect that, man. It's life and death here in the boat shop, y'all. All right, guys, we are back. We got the big variable speed DeWalt grinder with the Metabo blade, and we are now cutting the steering tube. It goes over the threaded rod, and it needs to be 10.25 inches long for this application. So I'm just going to cut just outside that line. Speed this up a little bit. All right. Just like that, low drama. Got some burrs and sharp edges. Obviously you want to be super careful with that. You always want to wear your eye and ear protection when you're working. And let's see here. Let's go over this way, Mark. Let's go over to the grinding wheel here, man. Y'all, we got the old grinder that's been here for a minute. We'll wear some clean that up a little bit. Obviously you guys see we got some blue tape on here. Works really good for marking things, marking surfaces. You'll notice we tape We tape a lot of things up. Just want to be really careful for that sharp edge. I'm gonna come back over here with the DA, y'all, and do a little more sanding, just clean that up. Sometimes you need an assortment of tools. Just put a nice little not gonna take much off, but it just does a nice job beveling that edge. That fresh cut metal will cut you. All right, crew, there we go. So we've got the outer sleeve and the rod cut to length. They recommend you put this lock nut down there right up tight, and then that is the end that you can see the rod right through those holes. You're going to want to thread it in there up to the second hole, or the deepest one. It took a minute to do this. You got to be real careful with stainless steel. Again, we were using that TEF 45, which we have found to be a great anti-seize if you're working with stainless on stainless. But that should be it. But that was kind of one of those things you want to measure twice and cut once. It's pretty darn crucial. So we're fixing to get up in here. We got the two big Yamahas, got the cylinder on one side. We're gonna go ahead and test fit this thing. Hopefully we can get some hydraulic lines and some fluid on this thing here shortly, and we'll have steerage. Yep, we're installing gauges today, y'all. So we were moving right forward. Yesterday we were working on a steering system for the boat. Kind of moving forward to the next step. Got some brand new Yamaha gauges. Now, of course, this console here is a brand new console. It's just a clean sheet. And y'all notice that we have taped everything. We just put blue tape on everything. And that allows us to mark and move and change things around. Kind of get an idea of how we want things to fit. And y'all have seen me previously. We even made some little templates. We've already got the holes cut for the control box, and the steering system is kind of roughed in. But this morning we were laying out where our electronics and our gauges are going to go. And obviously you want to take your time. This is kind of one of those scenarios of like measure twice, cut once. And one little trick that we have found that works really, really good is instead of, sometimes you measure something like this gauge and you're like, man, I think this hole saw or that hole saw will fit. But if you got something that is disposable, this is just a piece of like structural foam. That's is that ATC core cell, Mark?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's what it is. And so we just went ahead and we punched a hole in that one, and we can see we've got a nice, that's fitting the way we like it to fit. We had actually tried another hole saw a minute ago, and we thought it was going to be the one, and it was just a smidge too tight. And for our Yamaha gauges, spin that over, Mark. That's a 3 3/8 is the diameter that you're going to be using for these hole saws. So just remember that, y'all. Don't be afraid to make a template or a pattern or drill a hole in something. Again, here's a little piece. If you don't have any foam core, little piece of 5/8 or 1/4 plywood, you can punch a hole in there, and then that way you can be sure before you go drilling a hole in your brand new console or your new boat. So we're going to be working on that this morning. It looks like, just give you guys a heads up, 12-inch Garmin displays right there. We're going 3 gauges. We've got 2 motors, so it'll be a tack, speedo, and tack for your port and starboard engines. And then we're going to do a Blue Sea Systems switch panel right across the bottom here, and then looks like probably stereo and VHF with a nice little glove box there, somewhere where you can throw your cell phone and your keys and little knickknacks. That's always a handy thing to have on the boat. Just nice and steady, take your time. All right, let's take a look here one more time. Should drop. Oh man, and that is precision there, y'all. See, that gauge is lining up right there in line with the edge of our electronics. All right, we're gonna punch a couple more. You guys probably don't need to see repetitive stuff, so we'll pick up when we get something new. There we go, y'all. The two motors are hanging on the stern of the boat. We got everything kind of roughed in up there, the instruments and whatnot. Headed to the dealership, what they call a PDI, or post-delivery inspection or pre-delivery inspection. Make sure we just did the heavy stuff, cut the holes and kind of routed some of the heavy cables. They're going to make all the connections there. They let us do that because we build boats and buy motors all the time, but they're going to check off on everything. We just did the dirty work. But looking sweet, if I must say myself. Obviously we got some props in the shop, still waiting for them, and we got some equipment there. The boat will have some kind of a top and a windshield. But she's looking more and more finished. I'm pretty pleased with that. Yep, there they are, crew. We've got the Yamahas installed. We actually took them into the dealership yesterday and they did what they call the PDI on that. So we hung these motors and then they routed everything and made all the connections. I actually cranked the motors up for the first time. They checked all the fluid levels and everything, made sure everything looks good. Super exciting. So we're back in the shop and we had a few little finishing touches we've got to do. And actually one of those little finishing touches was the garboard drain that we're installing in this boat. Y'all can see in some of the previous episodes we got all the big bronze through hole fittings in, but we had left this one out to last minute just to make it easy to clean things out. Now what we are doing is we went ahead and pre-drilled, and I wanted to show y'all a little trick there. So you can see we've masked all the way around that really nice and tight so that when we use our 4200 it won't get all around the perimeter there. And what we've got is a pilot bit. So these are our screws, they're number 10 screws, and that's like a 1/8 drill bit that we use as our primary pilot bit. But what we've done, and there's a little hack there, guys, or a little trick, is you can use a bit that's larger. So your pilot bit generally is going to be about the same size as the shaft of the screw, but then the threads sometimes can fracture the glass as they're going in, especially when you're screwing into just thick glass. And like for example in this, on the bottom, it's pure fiberglass. I can't bolt it, so we're just going to run screws in there. But what you do is you run a larger bit. So you can see these side by side. That one is going to be about the diameter of the threads themselves. And what we've done is we've ran it in there just ever so slightly, about, oh, I would say probably a 1/16 of an inch or so. And I actually had a piece of fiberglass, a panel, that was one of our cutouts, and I did a demonstration. I drilled just a pilot hole that would normally work, and then I drilled one with the pilot hole and then the larger bit around the perimeter. And you can see on these two here, you can see the fractured glass around the perimeter of it. And then this one, we drilled the pilot hole and we drilled the larger hole around the perimeter. And if you look really tight, you do not see that fractured glass. So that's one of those little tricks. Now what you want to do, I typically will actually run the larger drill bit in reverse. So we run the small one, we get our depth for our pilot hole, and then we take the larger drill bit and I run it in reverse. And what that does is it'll still cut the surface of the gel coat, but you don't run the risk of it running in there and messing up your pilot hole. There they are. The props are all installed. Thought I might show you guys another option too. If you're using a big crescent wrench, you can use some channel locks maybe. I probably wouldn't recommend those, but just as a reference though, FYI, for this particular motor, 1 1/16 inch socket is going to be what you're going to need for snugging that nut up. And when you snug those nuts up, generally I've always learned you kind of get them snug and then maybe just go to the next cog in the crown nut. You don't have to typically wrench down on those. And then you want to fold that pin the way we've always done it. We leave the shorter side closer to the motor, we bend it slightly and then roll the upper one right on over, just nice and easy. Want to be sure that pin is in there. These props these days are not cheap. That'll help hold everything together. All right, one more job down, on to the next. All right, we have moved on to the hydraulic steering system. So for this particular boat, we are using very popular, used all the time down here in our area. It's going to be, if you can see that down there, that is a Sea Star with a tilt helm. So this has got a pretty cool little mechanism right here. You've got multiple positions. You can push that little detent down there and this helm will rock back and forth. But obviously I'm in the installation process, and they provide a template. We've already drilled a big hole here in the dash and in the 4 parameters. They've got a unique fastener. It's got a square base and then it's threaded, and it actually is what this little bezel sits on. And then you can see here on the underside it protrudes through. Now you can see I've wrapped this with some towel, some shop towel. There are a couple of specialized hydraulic fittings that they provide that I've unscrewed the plugs on the back of there and installed those 90-degree fittings, but they're not tight or anything. I just kind of got them in place. It's easier to do it outside. And then on the tilt helms, you kind of have this little 2-piece bezel. One piece fits inside of the other, and then you've got a little piece, a little rubber boot that slips over that component right there, and you kind of got to slip this down on top and then run some little fasteners through. Now the fasteners they provide are kind of unique, and they take a little bitty Allen wrench, quite small. Got to be real careful not to lose those. And they also provide the nut for the helm, and then there's what they call a Woodruff key, which I have taped that on there to be sure that it doesn't fall off in the installation process. But again, I apologize y'all, today I don't have anybody here helping me. It's a little bit hard to film and get the work done at the same time, but that is the gist of it. Been using the Sea Star systems for a long time, always had really good luck with them, but it's the first time I've had one with a tilt helm, so it allows just more comfort, kind of depending on who's driving the boat. Okay, so we got the system all installed, got the steering wheel on. Like I said, this is the first time I've done the Teleflex Sea Star tilt helm, and I like the install, I like the ergonomics, but I won't lie, I don't really love the way the base is bolted, and then you got these little teeny screws with little teeny Allen head, and took a little dexterity, I won't lie, and I'm good at putting stuff together and have done it a lot, and I don't love it. I could see it being difficult for some folks. Requires a delicate touch. I would use some kind of anti-seize or grease on those little screws going in. And one thing I had to do is I had to slightly loosen the main bolts holding the helm onto the console to give them just a little play, and then you kind of have to tweak this bezel around to get things to line up, and then you got to be really delicate because they are tiny Allen heads. It worked, but I didn't love it. I've always used kind of more of the standard helm that does not have the tilt, and you don't have to mount that little bezel on it. And had this steering wheel, it's an older one that I had. I'm probably going to get like a 3-spoke with a power knob on it a little bit later, but I had this one, I figured we'd be using it. Now I still have to connect the lines, and we've got the lines routed up here. You can see we've got a lot of stuff going on, but their hydraulic lines are up underneath the console, and then they're already routed back to the engines. There we go with the hydraulic steering system. Guys, we've got the everything, all the connections made. So we routed the lines the other day. They are going to be specific. They're actually kind of crisscrossed. The diagram will show you that, like on the helm pump. They kind of crisscross from one side to the other. And what we got here right now is a purge line and a little catch bucket. And got Mark here today, Mark. And we have already filled the helm up. I don't know if y'all can tell, that is full of fluid. We got the helm pump installed, and we got the connections made up underneath. And so what they want you to do first is just fill the helm with one bottle, and then we're going to start purging this. You got to turn the wheel clockwise, counterclockwise, and bleed it out. Yee, excuse me. We'll show you guys that gonna take 2 or 3 bottles to fill this up because we got a pretty long hoses and they require volume as we go. Here we go, y'all. We have decided to go ahead and bring this thing on down to the launch ramp. There's a twin 150 Yamahas. We got the steering system pretty much hooked up today. You can see we got my son was laughing at me. We got a piece of the last of that quart of hydraulic fluid, kind of purging out the last of the bubbles. We're gonna do just kind of an abbreviated sea trial today. Go ahead and splash this thing. Looking good though. Looking real good behind the truck. We're just gonna go ahead and we wanna check the motor elevation, do a little bit of a break-in, kind of just see how the props do and kind of check a few things. We still got about a week's worth of work to do on the boat, but today seemed like a good day to go ahead and do this little sea trial. So we'll bring you guys along. Hopefully we'll be on the water here next time you see us.